Welcome to the Not Old Better Show. I'm Paul Vogelzang, and this is episode number 469. Today's show is brought to you by Medterra. At the start of the HIV epidemic more than 30 years ago, people who were diagnosed with HIV or AIDS could expect to live only 1 to 2 years after that diagnosis. That meant that the issues of aging were not a major focus for people with HIV disease. Today's show is about aging with HIV, and I think you'll find our guest, Dennis Fleming, as I have, and that's someone to root for, yes, because today his HIV is undetectable, but someone who is living a long, healthy, happy life, and someone who is going to be a very positive guest here on the Not Old Better Show today. Nearly half of all people living with HIV in the United States are age 50 or older. This is mostly because people are living much longer with HIV thanks to novel, effective inhibitor attachment therapy, and that's good news. The bad news is research increasingly shows that diseases that typically strike HIV-negative people, men and women, yes, women too, in their 60s and 70s are occurring in people with HIV in their 40s and 50s. These concerns have brought the issue of aging with HIV to center stage. That's why we're talking about it today on the Not Old Better Show. One of the biggest unanswered questions is why this is occurring and what it all means in relation to research, clinical trials, and support and resources for those like our guest, Dennis Fleming, age 60, and those men and women over age 60 with HIV and what they're doing about it. I think you're going to find answers today that you're really going to value, appreciate, and find fascinating from our guest, Dennis Fleming. We'll talk about that and a lot more on today's program. Please join me in welcoming to the Not Old Better Show via internet phone, Dennis Fleming. Dennis Fleming, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's good to connect with you, especially good because I know you're doing well, and we're going to talk a little bit about how well you are doing. But give us briefly, how are things going with you and fighting the quarantine, doing all of this as a 60-year-old man with HIV. We're certainly grateful for your time, and we're excited, rooting for you. But how are things going emotionally and physically for you right now?
Pretty good, I think. I've been working from home since March, and I really am concerned about the virus. So I only go out to walk the dogs and to go to the grocery store. So I'm really serious about, staying healthy. Being cooped up is, it's a little nerve-wracking at times, but I'm handling it. We have dogs and a cat, and I have a husband, and so I have a support system. So I'm doing fairly well.
Well, we're glad to hear that, of course. And I think this is going to be an important conversation. I think it's one that is necessary for our audience because I think so much has changed with regard to HIV. And so tell us what long-term survival has looked like for you and living with HIV. You've really seen the gamut of this disease over the last 30 years.
Yes. I would say survival has gotten a bit easier, at least for me. Treatments have gotten better. There's still side effects, and there's still some things in there, but they've gotten much easier to take. The number of side effects has lessened greatly. While it's still, I still go and see my doctor on a regular basis. I don't need to go quite as often as I did maybe like 10, 15 years ago. And when you look at so care and treatment has definitely gotten better. I think also prevention has changed immensely because we now know that people who are positive and on treatment and have an undetectable viral load will not pass the virus on to others, and that was a huge step in prevention. And now we also know treatment as prevention in that there's medications you can take if you're negative. These are usually HIV meds that people with the disease take, and but people who are negative can take the same medications and remain negative as well. So things have really progressed rather quickly. I understand in the way medical people and doctors and scientists I know have remarked how amazing things have progressed so quickly with HIV, and it doesn't always happen with other diseases.
Mm-hmm. What's fascinating to me too, Dennis Fleming, is that this really, as a disease, isn't in the news anymore. I think that's probably a good thing. From my recollection, and you refer to this, it's really kind of a minimal pill treatment, but it used to be, again, my recollection is that the regimen was, many pills and almost a cocktail. I remember this being referred to. So specifically tell us about your treatment regimen today. What does it look like?
Well, I think for people like me, long-term survivors, I've had the disease 30 years now. I still take a lot of pills. I don't take quite as many as I used to have to. But when you have multiple resistance, then you're probably going to have to take a few more pills because probably not all of them are working 100%. But the regimen I'm on is very easy to take. I'm on 4 different medications, which isn't bad. The side effects are minimal. And this is just, of course, for me. But I know that people who are just diagnosed with the disease, their treatments are even easier. Sometimes 1 pill once a day. There might be 3 medications or 4 medications in that 1 pill. And they can take that once a day. Like I said, I'm a long-term survivor, so I've been on a lot of other treatments. I've had a lot of treatment failure. I've developed a lot of resistance. So I'm on a couple more pills than someone who just got diagnosed. But it's working, and like I said, the side effects for me are minimal. So I'm happy.
Hi, it's Paul. We'll be right back with Dennis Fleming and Aging with HIV. I have a quick message from our sponsor, Medterra. As we talk about health and as we age, this idea of function plays a bigger and bigger role. How do we stay active, vital, functional, mobile, and pain-free, or relatively pain-free? I'll tell you how I'm doing that these days. As you all know, I'm an exercise guy, but I also use our sponsor, Medterra's great full line of functional CBD products for rapid relief of occasional pain. Medterra has a new topical pain cream that's great for an active lifestyle, or you are recovering from any injury. Medterra sent me some of the pain cream a few weeks ago, and both Gretchen and I have been using it for pain relief of the normal aches and pains that come from, being 63 as I am. It applies easy and smooth and leaves you with a refreshing relief that you can take with you no matter where you go. This is great stuff, the Medterra Pain Cream. It's a combination of CBD, arnica, menthol, and other natural ingredients. I apply it directly to my knee as well as my lower back, and it works almost instantly, but you can apply it anywhere and everywhere because it lasts for hours. It gives you full relief of pain. Medterra developed this new pain cream with their medical advisors to specifically treat sore muscles and joints, injuries, and inflammation. All Medterra products are third-party tested for quality and purity, and they contain 0 THC. Medterra products are legal, and they are not going to get you high. The Medterra Pain Cream has allowed me and Gretchen to enjoy tennis, walking outside, and our ever-active lives, something you aren't able to do with nagging, debilitating pain. We've decided to focus on each other, and we spend less time focusing on what hurts. Both Gretchen and I highly recommend Medterra products, and it's recommended for people just like you in our Not Old Better Show audience who deal with lingering pain or soreness. And now, by visiting MedterraCBD.com and entering NOB at checkout, you'll receive 20% off. That's MedterraCBD.com and NOB at checkout for 20% off. We'll have all of this in the show notes. But remember, Medterra CBD and NOB, a perfect combination for best-in-class pain relief results. Thanks, everybody. We are with Dennis Fleming. Dennis Fleming is an HIV survivor for 30 years. Presently, the HIV is undetectable. And Dennis Fleming, thrilled about that. We're grateful for your time, grateful to be talking to you. You've been in a clinical trial for a bit now, so tell us a little bit about the clinical trial that you're involved with, how you chose to be involved with that clinical trial, how you feel about the experience overall.
It's been a very, very positive experience. I got into it because I really didn't have much of a choice. I mean, I did have a choice not to go into the clinical trial, but for me, I had come to the end of treatment options. And a pharmacist friend of mine told me there's an attachment inhibitor coming out, a new class of HIV med. And it's made for people just like you, a long-term survivor, lots of treatment failure. So she put me in contact with the study coordinator, and I went and got interviewed, and of course, I qualified. And my medical team worked with the medical team from the study site to come up with a regimen that would work for me, including the new attachment inhibitor, which is Ricobia. And I started taking all the meds. I had some severe gastrointestinal side effects in the beginning, but I worked with my medical team to manage those, and we got those under control. And but one of the happiest times of all this was when I got a call a month later. I'd gone in to have blood drawn, and to see if the medication was in my blood, and et cetera, et cetera. And the study coordinator called and said, "You're already at undetectable." So that was within a month of starting in the study. And so it's been great because the regimen is working. The side effects, have waned quite a bit. And I just heard that so it'll be 4 years I've been in the study this month, this August. And but I heard that the study drug Ricobia has just been approved by the FDA, and it's now commercially available. So that's really good news.
Yeah, I think all of this is really good news. A month, that's just almost seems to be record time, and there are so many I think misconceptions and perhaps myths even around HIV. It isn't in the news as much anymore. What do you, as a 60-year-old man, what do you tell younger gay men about HIV? And maybe tell us a few of the myths that are surrounding HIV still to this day.
Yeah, I'll start with the myths first. I think one of them you touched on already is it's out of the news, and so I think with a lot of people, out of sight, out of mind. And every once in a while, I'll tell someone, that I'm living with HIV, or I say that, I work in the field of public health and HIV. And they'll say, "Really? Oh, I thought we had a handle on that," or "I thought that was gone." And I think that's one interesting myth, because it's not. But, I understand, it's out of sight, out of mind. I just think the other myth, and this is part of what I would tell younger gay men, is the treatments have come a long way as far as side effects, and they used to cause, fat distribution around the body, so people would walk around with really skinny arms and legs, but have a belly, and gastrointestinal effects and headaches and all kinds of strange side effects. Yeah, the treatments have gotten so much easier, but I think people still have that misconception that, I think the treatments are as bad as the disease itself. There's still some of that out there too. But I would tell gay men, even though the treatments are better, it's still better, I think personally, not to have HIV. So, you have all the tools. You have a lot more tools in the prevention toolbox than I did when I was 30 years ago. And use those prevention tools, because, it's just better not to have HIV.
Mm-hmm. You do a bit of education around this subject, and let's talk a little bit about that for a moment, because I wonder, are there sufficient resources out there? It's not in the news. It's not really part of our conversation so much anymore as a society. Perhaps it should be. These resources are probably more available than I know. I appreciate you giving us some of this data right up front. We're going to post this in our show notes about where people can find out more information and support resources for both men and women over 60 with HIV. So tell us a little bit about the resources that are available.
Well, I think it really, unfortunately, depends on where you live. If you live in a large urban area or even a smaller area, but if that area has a lot of support for HIV and AIDS, the services are going to be good. I mean, they can always improve, and there always could be more services. But I think the services are pretty adequate if you live in a large urban area. Where it gets a little less adequate is in rural areas, and especially in the South. But even here in California, in the rural areas, the services are very, very limited because it's just not as many people. There's not as much revenue. There's not as much understanding. And so that's unfortunate, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I know, again, we're going to put a link in the show notes, but there's a great HIV and aging website out there that the federal government is really supplying information to. And that's one that we could recommend and that you yourself have found to be helpful.
Right. I mean, if you go onto Google and just type HIV and aging, a plethora of resources come up. Journal articles, magazine articles, agencies, and the best one is if you just type in hiv.gov and then go to the search box and do aging with HIV or HIV and aging. They come up with all kinds of resources, and there's links there, and you just click on one of the links and it'll take you. You put in your zip code and it'll tell you what services are available in your area.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, final question for you, Dennis Fleming. How's your perspective on life? You've survived this. You seem to be healthy and sound very happy, and we're glad to hear all of that. But give us a perspective. Maybe give us a little bit of advice and send us out on an up note. This is not the death sentence that it once was.
No, it's not at all. I knew when I was diagnosed back in 1990, I had a great doctor, and he provided me hope. And he said, there's no treatments commercially available for you at the moment. He goes, but there will be soon. I'm sure of it. And once those treatments come out, get on them, and you could probably have a good life. And so I remained optimistic, but there was still a little bit of pessimistic side of me saying, I wonder if I'll make it to be 50. Maybe I'll make it to be 40, but maybe I won't make it to my 50th birthday. And then as time went on and treatments got better and care got better and we learned more about the disease and more services became available, I started thinking, oh, okay, yeah, I don't need to start thinking about not living to 50. And I got to my 50th birthday. It was a big celebration. And then January, I got to my 60th. So it's really, my perspective has gotten so much better that I don't even really think about, how much longer I'm going to live, because I think I'm going to have a full life, and, a very long one too. There's no indication I'm still working full time. I rarely get sick, so I think there's at least my health doesn't have to stand in my way.
Well, this is all good news, and we appreciate your time. And as I say, we got your back. We're at your corner. We're rooting for you. We'd love to have you come back on the show at some point too, Dennis Fleming, just to update us, tell us about some of the news as it changes with regard to HIV and aging. But thank you for your time today. Have a great day.
Thank you, and I definitely would love to come back.
My thanks to Dennis Fleming for his willingness and candor today about aging with HIV. Please check out our list of resources in today's show notes. My thanks to GCI Health for help in arranging today's program. My thanks to Medterra for sponsoring today's show. Please check out the show notes for the links to the Medterra product line. And my thanks always to you, my wonderful Not Old Better Show audience. Remember, Stay safe, everyone. Practice smart social distancing and talk about better. The Not Old Better Show. Thanks, everybody.